1984. It is not just a year. It is not just a title. It is a ghost that haunts the shelves of every library in the free world. It is the most challenged, most feared, and most frequently banned book in American history. Think about that. In a country that prides itself on the First Amendment, this specific arrangement of ink and paper is treated like a biological weapon. It is a book that has been attacked by the left, decimated by the right, and burned by the center. It has been accused of being pro-communist while simultaneously being banned for being anti-communist. It has been called pornographic by school boards and subversive by dictators. It is a literary Rorschach test where every tyrant sees their own reflection and screams in terror. Since its publication on June 8, 1949, it has lived on the front lines of a war that never ends. A war for the territory between your ears. It is a manual for the end of the world that we keep trying to throw into the furnace, yet it refuses to burn. We are obsessed with it. We are terrified of it. We are living it. Every time a school board in Florida or a regime in the East moves to strike Winston Smith from the record, they are not just banning a story. They are performing an act of ritual purification. They are trying to kill a mirror. They are trying to stop a clock that has already struck 13. The statistics are staggering. Hundreds of documented challenges, thousands of quiet removals from curricula, a constant, low-grade fever of institutional anxiety that suggests Orwell didn't just write a novel. He wrote a death warrant for the illusions we use to sleep at night. The paradox of 1984 is that it is a warning that has become a reality through the very act of its suppression. We tell ourselves we are free because we can read what we want. Yet the moment a book describes the mechanics of our own chains, we find a reason to look away. The book is a contradiction. It is celebrated as a masterpiece of Western democracy, a Cold War relic used to point fingers at the Soviet beast. Yet the moment its lessons are applied to our own institutions, the celebration ends. In 1981, Jackson County, Florida, became a theater of the absurd. They didn't just want the book gone, they wanted it erased. They claimed it was pro-communist. They claimed it was sexually explicit. They attacked it from both ends of the ideological spectrum at the exact same time. This is the Orwellian paradox in its purest form. To the authoritarian mind, the truth is irrelevant. Only the threat matters. If a book makes a student question the sanctity of the state, it is communist. If it shows the raw, desperate hunger of human connection, it is filth. The paradox is that by banning the book to protect the youth, the censors become the very thought police Orwell warned us about. They use the language of protection to hide the machinery of control. They prove the book's thesis by the very act of trying to disprove its necessity. We see this pattern repeat across decades. The book is a threat because it is a map, and those who run the maze do not want the rats to see the walls from above. They want us in the corridors. They want us focused on the cheese. They do not want us to know that the cheese is a lie and the corridors are shrinking. To understand why this book carries such a heavy charge, you have to look at the man who bled it onto the page. Eric Arthur Blair, a man who saw the rot from the inside. He wasn't an academic theorizing in an ivory tower. He was a man who felt the cold steel of the system against his neck. He was a colonial policeman in Burma, learning the heavy, sickening weight of empire. He saw how the uniform changes the man, how the boot becomes an extension of the soul. Then came Spain. 1936. The Spanish Civil War wasn't just a conflict. It was the forge where Orwell's spirit was tempered. He went to fight for socialist ideals, for the dream of a fair world, only to watch that dream be strangled by the very people who claimed to be its champions. He saw the Soviet-backed communists turn on their own allies. He saw the betrayals, the secret executions, the lies printed in the newspapers that turned heroes into villains overnight. He watched the great purges of Stalin from a distance, seeing 600 souls extinguished like candles in a gale. He saw how history could be rewritten in a week. He saw how a man could be unpersoned, rubbed out of a photograph, deleted from a ledger, excised from the memory of the living. This wasn't fiction to him. It was a trauma. By the time he sat down on the cold, damp island of Jura to write his final masterpiece, he was dying of tuberculosis. Every word was a struggle for breath. The book is infused with the desperation of a man who knows he is running out of time to warn the world. He wasn't writing about a distant future. He was writing a post-mortem of the present. He was taking the blood and the mud of the 20th century and distilling it into a nightmare that would never end. The mechanism of 1984 is a clockwork of psychological demolition. It is a meat grinder for the human soul. At its heart is the Ministry of Truth, a building that stands as a monument to the murder of facts. Here, Winston Smith works with a small blade and a memory hole. His job is to ensure that the past matches the present. If the party says we are at war with Eurasia, we have always been at war with Eurasia. If tomorrow the party says we are at war with Eastasia, then the records must be changed so that the previous war never happened. This is the industrialization of the lie. It is the systematic destruction of objective reality. Orwell understood that if you control the past, you control the future. If you control the record, you control the mind. Then there is Newspeak. This is the ultimate weapon. It is a language designed not to expand thought but to shrink it. It is a linguistic cage. By removing words like freedom or rebellion, the party makes the very concept of those things impossible to conceive. You cannot plot a revolution if you do not have a word for it. It is the ultimate form of censorship, not stopping you from saying something, but stopping you from being able to think it. The thought police are the censors in the walls, the cameras in the screens, the children who report their parents for a muttered word in their sleep. It is a system of total surveillance that turns every citizen into a jailer. The mechanism is simple: isolation. If you are alone, you are weak. If you cannot trust your neighbor, your spouse, or your own memory, you have no choice but to lean on the party. The party becomes the only solid thing in a world of shifting sand. It is a parasitic relationship where the state feeds on the identity of the individual until there is nothing left but a hollow shell that loves Big Brother. The conclusion is a dark, cold room, room 101. It is the place where the thing you fear most is used to break the last thread of your humanity. For Winston, it was rats. For us, it might be something else. But the result is the same: the breaking of the will. The ultimate goal of the party is not just obedience. It is the total surrender of the soul. Power is not a means. It is an end. You do not establish a dictatorship to safeguard a revolution. You make the revolution to establish the dictatorship. The object of power is power. This is the terrifying truth Orwell leaves us with. It is a philosophy of the boot stepping on a human face forever. The reason 1984 remains the most banned book is because it exposes the fragility of our own reality. It reminds us that truth is not a natural law. It is a fragile thing that must be defended every single day. We see the Ministry of Truth in our modern media cycles. We see Newspeak in our political slogans and our character-limited discourses. We see the unpersoning in our digital cancellations and the scrubbing of inconvenient histories. The book is banned because it is a mirror that shows us how close we are to the edge. It is a warning that the walls are thin and the shadows are growing. When we ban 1984, we are trying to silence the alarm clock because we don't want to wake up. We want to stay in the dream where we are safe, where the government is our friend, and where the truth is whatever we feel it should be. But Orwell is still there, coughing in the corner, pointing at the screen. He is telling us that the price of liberty is not just eternal vigilance, but the courage to see the world as it actually is, not as we wish it to be. The book is dangerous because it teaches us how to see. And in a world of darkness, the man who can see is the greatest threat of all. We are Winston Smith. We are holding the diary. The ink is wet. The thought police are at the door. And the only question left is whether we will have the strength to finish the sentence before the lights go out. History is a palimpsest, scraped clean and reinscribed exactly as often as is necessary. We are the ink. We are the paper. We are the memory. If we allow the book to be silenced, we allow ourselves to be erased. The banning of 1984 is the final proof that the party is still winning. The clock is striking 13. Do you hear it? It is the sound of a world forgetting itself. It is the sound of the memory hole opening wide to swallow us all. We must read. We must remember. We must refuse to love Big Brother. Because the moment we stop fighting for the truth, the story ends. and Orwell's nightmare becomes our only home. The book is a cage, but it is also the key. That is why they fear it. That is why they hide it. That is why we must never let it go. In the face of a system that demands your soul, the act of reading a forbidden book is the first step toward becoming human again. It is the only rebellion that matters. It is the only light we have left in the ministry of shadows. The reach of this narrative extends into the very marrow of our social structures. Consider the way institutions handle dissent today. They don't always use the heavy hand of the state. Sometimes they use the soft pressure of the collective. This is the doublethink of the modern age. We are told to be ourselves, yet we are punished if that self doesn't align with the prevailing wind. We are told to speak our minds, yet the vocabulary we are given is increasingly restricted, sanitized, and hollowed out. Orwell saw this coming. He saw that the most effective cage is the one you build for yourself. When a school board decides that 1984 is too disturbing for students, they are making a profound statement about the purpose of education. They are saying that education is not about opening the mind to the harsh realities of power, but about insulating the mind against them. They are creating a generation of Proles, people who are kept in a state of perpetual ignorance and diverted by cheap entertainment and manufactured outrage. The Proles in Orwell's world were not monitored by the thought police because they didn't need to be. They were already broken by their own lack of imagination. By banning the book, the censors are attempting to turn us all into Proles. They are trying to ensure that we never develop the tools to analyze our own subjection. This is the dark heart of censorship. It is not about protecting the innocent. It is about maintaining the status quo. It is about ensuring that the Ministry of Peace continues to make war, and the Ministry of Plenty continues to manage starvation. The historical echoes are deafening. When we look back at the 1930s and 40s, we see a world on fire. We see the smoke from the crematoriums and the dust from the gulags. Orwell breathed that air. He knew that the line between civilization and savagery is a thin, fragile thread of shared truth. When that thread is cut, anything is possible. The banning of 1984 is a sign that the thread is fraying. It is a symptom of a society that has lost its appetite for the truth. We prefer the comfortable lie. We prefer the alternative fact. We prefer the narrative that makes us feel like the heroes of our own story, even as we are being led to the slaughter. Orwell's novel is a cold shower for a fevered world. It is a slap in the face that demands we wake up. It is a reminder that the price of our comfort is often our conscience. The book has been banned in the Soviet Union for being a critique of Stalinism, and it has been challenged in the United States for being a critique of capitalism. This is its greatest strength. It is a universal solvent for ideology. It doesn't matter what flag you fly. If you seek to control the minds of others, this book is your enemy. It is a manual for the resistance of the soul. It is a declaration of independence for the individual mind. And that is why it will always be under fire. That is why it will always be the target of those who seek to lead us. In the end, the story of why 1984 was banned is the story of our own struggle with the truth. It is the story of a world that is terrified of its own reflection. We ban the book because we cannot handle the reality it describes. We ban it because we are Winston Smith and we are tired of fighting. We want to sit in the Chestnut Tree Cafe and drink our gin and wait for the bullet to enter our brains. We want to love Big Brother because it is easier than hating him. But as long as one copy of this book remains, as long as one person reads these words and feels that spark of recognition, the party has not won. The banning of the book is a tribute to its power. It is an admission of fear by the powerful. They ban it because they know that ideas are more dangerous than bullets. They ban it because they know that a single man with a diary can bring down an empire. So let them ban it. Let them challenge it. Let them try to erase it. Every time they do, they only make the book more vital. They only prove that Orwell was right. The struggle for the future is the struggle for the past. And the struggle for the past is happening right now on the shelf of your local library. Pick up the book. Read the forbidden words. Commit the thought crime. Because in a world of lies, the truth is the only thing that can set you free. And the truth is that Big Brother is watching, but he is also afraid. He is afraid of you. He is afraid of your mind. He is afraid of the book you are holding in your hands. Do not let him win. Do not let the memory hole take this story. Hold on to the truth, even if it breaks you. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that belongs to you is the few cubic centimeters inside your skull. Guard them with your life. The clock is striking 13. The shadows are long, but the book is still here. And as long as the book is here, there is hope. There is the possibility of a world where 2 + 2 = 4.